All right, people are rolling in here. Hope everybody's having a great day. I want to welcome everybody to this month's elevator pitch. I am Dan Tomaszewski with Everything MSP and very excited for this month's elevator pitch event. Each of our three presenters will each have 10 minutes to give their elevator pitch. And what will happen right after that, we're going to open up our demo rooms where we can dive deeper, get some hands-on learning, and ask additional questions. Now, one of the big things I want to make everybody aware of is that we have $250 of cash that we're going to give away to one lucky MSP at the end of the event. So, I want to make sure that you stick around all the way to the end. And we have three great presenters, as I mentioned. We've got Ku Ching with Josys. He's going to be talking about SaaS management. Got David Setzer with Mail Protector, talking about email security, and Lou Patno with Vonahi Security. We're going to be jumping into our pen test. Now, just to give you a little bit more background, each presenter, as I mentioned, is going to get 10 minutes to give us their elevator pitch. Once each of them are done, we open up those demo rooms. But just before that, we will throw a poll up asking which of the presenters you would like to hear from, which of the vendors that you'd like to hear more from. You'll be able to complete that. We'll pass your information on to them so they can reach out to you. And once we get to the demo rooms, it's actually called breakout rooms down at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And basically, when you click on that at that time, when we open those up, you'll be able to pick which demo room you want to go to, and you'll be able to bounce around. So if you jump over to Mail Protector at first and you learn what you needed to, you could jump over to Josys and then Vonahi, however you wish. And so it's a great way just to be able to get some additional information and so on. With that being said, I want to jump into our very first presenter, which we're going to start out with Josys. And let me go ahead and add a spotlight here for Mr. Kuching with Josys, here to share with us how MSPs can simplify SaaS management for their clients. Ku, the floor is yours. You're ready to roll, my friend.
Absolutely, Dan. Thank you. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.
I love showing up here. 10 minutes. Wow. So, first thing is I'm curious to find out how many floors this elevator covers. Usually, elevator pitches are like 30 seconds to a minute, but I'm
Exactly.
glad I'm glad to have this opportunity, folks. I'm going to share my deck with you, and just simply go over who Joseph is, how we came to be, the train of thought behind the CEO and the founder of the company, and then the solution in terms of what it serves for. But the whole idea is we want to help MSPs, right? I mean, we understand how tedious a responsibility you have in terms of your tenant, how many tenants you have to serve, and how many manual workflows you have to go through. So the same applies to our current founder and CEO. And back in 2021 is when he started Josys. Our CEO's name is Yasu, and before Joseph, he had a company called Raxul, which is a really popular company in Japan all on its own right. But as we all experienced during that COVID period, as everyone became separated and had to go to remote workforces, Yasu realized that it was quite a bit of a hassle to keep tabs on the employees in terms of what they were doing, the applications they were using, how often they were using it, who was leaving the company, who was coming to the company. And as he searched for an organization to help him do this, he realized it's non-existent. So Yasu decided, you know what, I'm just going to create one. And here comes Joseph. 2021, Joseph was founded. And over the course of the last 4 years, we've had, some really good success. We've had the ability to work with companies like Honda, which I'm pretty sure everyone's pretty familiar with, and companies like Toyota. So we've got some really good players in the game that we've been able to help, and I'm looking forward to showing you how we've been able to help them. But the most exciting part I'd like to share with you is over the course of the last 4 years, we've grown tremendously, over 250 employees globally. We've got offices in Japan, the US, Australia, India, Singapore, Indonesia. And the best part about this, folks, is we have received $225 million in funding. So for those who put their trust in us, we're not going anywhere. We've got investors that definitely want to see us succeed. So I want to just go with you a little bit about Joseph and the reason why folks are using us. If you're like most of my clients, most of the MSPs that I deal with, you've got a lot of strain, right? And it really comes from no single source of truth in terms of having spreadsheets for different clients, having spreadsheets for the different departments within your tenants' portals, and really understanding in order to keep track and really understand what's going on with each tenant, that really causes a strain because you've got millions of spreadsheets and you already got too many. The other things that a lot of our MSPs really struggle with is the fact that everything is still done manually. When you have the right information, that's one thing, but now you got to take action. You got to go into each tenant, you got to provisional licenses, you got to deprovision licenses. So it really becomes a strain if you think about it when you're managing 50, 60, 70 tenants at a time, or I mean, even like 5 to 10 from some of the MSPs I talked to. So we want to make sure we can help you alleviate that pain as well. But the most loved aspect about Josys is the ability for us to be able to provide you with access governance, right? We're going to be able to tell you who's downloading what, when they're downloading it, how often they're downloading applications that aren't a part of your approved tech stack, and which devices they're downloading it from. So now you're going to have the ability to eliminate the risk that a lot of these employees are unintentionally putting the companies in. I mean, we do live in a day and age where applications are created, every other day. And I don't blame folks for wanting to be more efficient. We just want to make sure that we do it the correct way, and that's what Justice is gonna do for you. So the idea is to become one cohesive unit. Um, if you're looking at my screen and you're saying, "What is this?" It's usually what a lot of companies go through, right? They've got the IT department, they got the sales department, the engineering department, finance, HR. Each department has its own tech stack. Each department has tons of software that they're able to manage. So, from an MSP point of view, how do you manage all this? How do you manage all this? And what Joseph wants to do is we want to make sure that we can make it a cohesive unit to where the IT teams, the MSPs, or the person that's in charge of all the SaaS has access and has the visibility into this. And how we do that's very simple. We take all the applications, we take all the integrations that you currently have, whether it be Salesforce or whether it be Slacks, whatever it may be, and we have our browsers, we have our Google agents, we have multiple ways that we're able to gather that intel, and we put it into a clean, easy to read dashboard that you're currently seeing right now. And the results of this is very simple. Once you have this information in, you're now able to have 360-degree SaaS control. It means you can control every single app that you currently have or every single app that your tenants have from a single dashboard. You have the ability now to create workflows and automate everything so that when you do have certain things to trigger, for example, a new onboarding employee, you don't have to figure out what applications that employee needs. You have the ability to automatically trigger things through Josys, and we'll take care of that. Most importantly, with the automations, we can automate almost everything. We automate the access reviews in terms of usage. If you have a team that is underutilizing certain applications, it's going to trigger these reviews. It's going to ask, do these folks continuously need access to these applications? And based on the answer, it has the ability to deactivate that for you. So when a system is underused, or worst of all, when an employee leaves, whether it's on their own merit or you terminate them, it's going to trigger the deactivation of the provision apps for them so that it does not leave the company vulnerable, and it doesn't leave the company at risk, for any kind of unintentional mistakes that have been made. Um, these are the key features of Yosis, just to give you an insight in terms of what we're trying to do. The onboarding, offboarding, I just got done talking about. The access reviews triggered by multiple aspects will give you a holistic look into what exactly the company needs, how to optimize everything. The automation, we're going to automate almost every process you currently have right now, from onboarding and offboarding to understanding what needs to be optimized and taking action from the single source of dashboard through Josys. We're going to provide you security in terms of shadow IT. You're going to understand exactly who's downloading what at all times moving forward now. We're even going to provide you with another level of security due to the fact that most of your applications these days are attached to SSO or an MFA. So we're now going to let you know that, hey, you have Slack, which can be attached to SSO for single sign-on, but for some reason you have 30 participants within your Slack organization that haven't done that yet, and allow you the privilege to be able to reach out to those folks and take care of that directly through the Josys platform. But most importantly, the thing that the CFOs love most about Josys is the fact that we can track the spend. Going to be able to track how much you're actually spending for each application, what the application actually breaks down in terms of per licensing, what the level of licensings are going to cost, who's using that level of licensing, and who needs that level of licensing. So when you come to renegotiate the contract terms at the end of the day, you're able to provide statistical data to these firms that says, hey, look, I know we had 25 previously, but from what we need, we only need 15, and save that additional revenue and put it towards other things, other value added, projects versus wasting it on licenses that aren't being used. Um, so the results of Josys, very simple, operational efficiencies, right? We're going to save you a ton of man hours. We're going to eliminate the manual processes, allow you to take those hours and apply them to more value added projects within the organizations. I'm pretty sure most organizations have a backlog of things that they need to attend to. We're going to be proactive in terms of security. You're now going to know what your employees are doing ahead of time versus having to adjust and reflect and then try to take care of a situation on the back end. But most importantly, by having Joseph, you're going to have an additional quiver in your arrow in your quiver that you can provide additional client satisfaction to your tenants by providing them statistics and analytics they probably have access to, but take a long time to accumulate. Now they have this live up to date on a regular basis. And folks, the best part about this is if you want to try it out, we're giving it out for free right now. We're giving you an assessment of up to 2 clients. So reach out to me or chat with me during the group session after this, and I'll be happy to go into more details in terms of how we can take advantage of Justice. But Dan, that's all I have, bud. I hope that was clear enough for everybody.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And there we go. And I want to go back to the good old '80s song of Guns N' Roses, "Signs." The one lyrics of the sign was "Signs, signs everywhere there's signs," and it's more like sass, sass everywhere there's sass, right? And when it comes down to it, as technologists, as MSPs, we need to do a better job of getting greater visibility to what kind of SaaS apps are out there, so we can provide more control and just have fuller visibility. So with that being said, Ku, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. And we're going to move on to our next presenter. Go ahead and bring in 1 second here. Of course, there we go. Go ahead and remove that. There we go. We've got David Setzer. How you doing today, David?
Hey, Dan, good to be back with you again.
It's great to have you here. And so we're going to move on to email security with Mail Protector. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start your 10 minutes right now.
Awesome. Thanks again. Great always to be with you, Dan. I will jump in pretty quickly. As they say, if I would have had more time, I could have made this shorter. But Mail Protector exists really as an organization to return email back to this awesome technology that it used to be, where we could just talk to anybody around the world effortlessly and seamlessly. And we know that today that email is broken. Email has become this chore that we have to manage, this thing we have to put on our calendar. It's become even much worse. It's become a threat that we have to fear, because it has become the prime attack vector for cyber attacks. If we were talking a decade ago, this number would probably be somewhere, or probably it was around 50%. So even in the period where people said that email was becoming obsolete, it has actually only become more important and more used, and thus the bad guys have used it more intensely. Now, what this means for an MSP, what this means for a security provider, is that you have to make this the core of your security stack. Email security cannot be a checkbox in a bundle, because if you get this wrong, you will always be playing catch up. If you get it right, then the rest of your security job is easier, because we're all dealing with the same users. if a user, and these are averages, not maximums. If we're not able to protect a user to respond to a threat or an environment in less than 21 seconds, then we're going to be behind the game. We're going to have a breach situation. So the stakes couldn't be higher, and this is a technology and a security that we cannot, we just can't skimp on. We can't let it go by. We've got to make this the core of our stack. So if we're going to solve the problem, though, as us as an organization, we've been doing this over 20 years. We want to understand what the problem is. And to do that, you have to go back and say, how did we get to this spot? Now, I look at technology and software, and I say all software has DNA. And to understand software's DNA, to understand what we're doing in the email security space, you have to understand where it came from. Email security is not just an application that somebody owns. Email is an expression of the SMTP protocol. And the protocol was created for this network. It was created for the ARPANET in the early 70s. And the core thing we have to understand about the ARPANET is this network was closed. You had to have permission to get on the network. So because you had to have permission to get on the network, everyone was vetted and everyone was trusted. The trust was inherent in the network. So when the protocol was created, the protocol was wide open. That's why an email looks like this. It's a postcard. It's the SMTP envelope. You can put any return address you want onto it. It's just like a mail envelope that you write anything you want and you drop it in the blue box. Even though I haven't seen blue boxes lately. I don't know. I think I'm sure they're still out there somewhere. Anyway, you drop it in the blue box. Well, the problem and what's happened is that the network opened. Now this gave us the technology that we have. We can talk to anybody around the world. I remember what it was like before email, but as the technology opened, and we don't now have not 10, 20, or 50 nodes, but we have billions and billions of untrusted nodes, the protocol stayed open. And what that means is that we are now fighting on the wrong side of asymmetric warfare. They're lobbing $50 mortars over the wall, and we're shooting them down with $1 million missiles. And that's the ultimate crux of our problem, is that we have a trust problem in the space. And that's the problem we're going to have to solve. What we're doing today, we call it just kind of whack-a-mole. One solution we see is subject tagging. This was whack-a-mole to the CEO spoof, hey, I need Amazon gift cards. So now let's put a banner, or let's put a notice in the subject line of every email when it comes from outside of our organization. So now, 80% of our emails just have external in them. And what do we do? We just start ignoring them. Our users ignore them because it's just noise. And another one that you don't want to get me started on too hard is the email banners. This one kills me because this is a real banner. We didn't make this one up. Caution, this email originated from outside the organization. Do not click links or open attachments unless you recognize the sender and know the content is safe. Like this one absolutely kills me because this is not email security. This is not security, not cybersecurity. This is nothing but legal CYA. What are we ultimately doing here? We're asking our users to do our job for us. This is just CYA. So when somebody gets breached, we can say, hey, look, we told you not to open that unless you knew it was safe. Do we want our users figuring out if content is safe, or is that really our job? Well, I think that's our job. It's not their job to figure this out. It's our job to do it. We've got another one, block lists. I'll give block lists a little bit of credit. They worked 15 years ago, maybe something like that. But they don't have any trust inherent in them, and then they got massive to manage. And what happened is when they got too unruly to manage, we just ask the user to do it. Say, hey, user, you go ahead and manage this for us. These are all just whack-a-mole kind of solutions to fighting on the wrong side of asymmetric warfare. And that's why the problem has only gotten worse over the past decade. So we've probably wrestled for at least a decade with the ultimate principles of how to solve this problem once and for all. And ultimately, the way to do it is to apply zero trust. Now, you hear zero trust kind of thrown around in a lot of places. It's a core cybersecurity principle. It originated in the firewalls of the 80s. Applying zero trust to email security is actually really super easy. That's not hard to do. The problem is you can't use it. You won't have a technology to use if you apply zero trust to it. The key is in the application and in the usability. And so what we've done is over the last couple of years, put together principles that we have been working on into the Apex platform. And I'll talk about the product that we've launched from that in a second. But what you have to be able to do this, and the technologies that have come together to make this possible, are really two core capabilities to implement these principles. One is you have to see data in transit and at rest. So you have to see data coming in, you have to see the data going out, and that's a traditional inbound and outbound gateway. And you also have to see the data at rest, which is your API. So that's one capability. The other capability is AI. And I don't mean scanning every message with AI. If anybody tells you they're scanning every email with AI, they're either lying to you or they're losing so much money, they're going to have to 100x your price or go out of business. It's simple as that. It's not economically feasible. It's not an economic model to use these LLMs to scan AI to scan every message. So what we've done is we use AI in a targeted way on the security stack, but more importantly, by having a holistic solution, you watch the user behavior. We use AI to watch user behavior. It's kind of like the principle of how they would train bank tellers to spot counterfeit money. They didn't take a whole bunch of counterfeit money in there and ask them to figure it out. They just let them count cash for about 2 or 3 days. And by learning what's real, it became super easy for them to spot what wasn't real. That's the same concept that we employ with AI in Shield. So we spent about 3 years building the platform. Shield is the first product. It's the only zero trust email security product on the market with some unbelievable capabilities and, most importantly, usability. In the 18 plus months that we've deployed from internal, I have not received a single phishing message in my inbox. Now I just talk to the people I want to talk to. I don't manage it. I don't have an assistant that has to manage my email every day anymore. We've done a couple cool, a lot of cool things. Actually, we can show you a lot of it in our breakout room, but I'll flip through some of them real quick. One thing we did, we used the client as the primary UI so that your users don't have to jump out and manage another application. When they do need to figure out what's going on, we put dynamic banners in the message that give real-time information instead of slapping Post-it notes all over it. We create an ultimate, I won't even call it a sandbox because it's so much more, because our philosophy is give users the tools, take away the knives, where you can see real-world insights about a message, where we can follow every link in the message and give users a safe way to look at what's going on without the ability to hurt themselves, where we can analyze files in the message, where we can lock sensitive data in the inbox. So if you've got a breached 365 account, the bad guys can't get there, where your techs can look at easily discernible information so you can use a level 1 tech instead of level 2 or 3 tech to support the product. And where you can see audited timelines of what's happened with a message. One of the things that we want to do is make it easier and easier for you and for your tech team to manage the solution. We put something in called Spotlight, where you can look at messages all across the stack, even the Microsoft quarantine that you actually can't get through Microsoft's UI. We created a zero trust admin console that makes it super easy for your administrators to interact with your users, know exactly what's going on, get in, solve problems, and get out as quick as possible. With the intelligence, with the way that we've used AI to deploy the zero trust, it's a product that watches user behavior and continues to get better and better over time. It ultimately takes the 365 inbox and makes it usable. Lastly, on deployment, we know deployment super critical. So we take what was actually a very complex deployment process. We've reduced it to about 60 seconds. And literally, I've got a video that we can show you where you could deploy across the entire tenant in about a minute. Shield sits on our stack in as the core piece, along with a number of other products that integrate with it, especially Bracket, which is our no apps, downloads, or plugins email encryption product that gets rid of usernames and passwords and actually delivers leads to you as an MSP. We deliver over a lead a day to MSPs from their Bracket users and recipients. On the company side, we've got a support team that's 100% US based, led by former MSPs. If you want to find out about us, jump over to Channel Program, where we've got some fantastic partners and reviews there. And the market and the press has spoken pretty well. And I think I actually came close to our 10 minutes there. Dan, how'd we do?
We are right there. Excellent. I love it. And you brought up a really interesting point that I want to address. You mentioned about the email banner, basically just telling, it's essentially telling the end users to, do our job. And, I liken that to a dip in the road. Instead of fixing the dip in the road, somebody puts up a sign that says dip in road.
Bump. That's a great, I'm going to use that one, Dan. Thank you.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to move on to our next presenter. And let's go ahead and bring in Luke Patno. And there is Luke. How you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start your 10 minutes, and you are on right now.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I think we have two very great presenters before me, so I can't wait to show you what we do. But essentially, I come from the Vonahi team over here at Kaseya, and at Vonahi, we make automated network penetration testing solutions. If you don't know what that is, then I'm going to go over that in a little bit. But the product we call, or the product that we make essentially is made by hackers, ethical hackers, and we call it vPenTest, and we make it super easy to get you a fully compliant penetration test in for any of your clients whatsoever. So let me go ahead and move on here. If you do not know what a penetration test is, it is essentially simulating a hacker on your network, hacking and attacking your machines. It's not necessarily like a vulnerability scanner. Vulnerability scanners are, they have high rates of false positives. They have all sorts of, potential issues that come with a lot of them. I'm not going to crap on any of them. You definitely have to have them. They're great tools to have. But what a penetration tester is going to do is they're going to find that vulnerability. They're not just going to tell you whether or not it may or may not be there. They're going to actually exploit the vulnerability and prove how hackable you actually are, because without pen tests, you never know how hackable you actually are. Now, again, we are a full-blown SaaS platform. So the way that we work is you get a device and you can essentially run vPenTest in a VM, but you hook that up anywhere you want, even if your network is, segmented or VLAN, you can adjust some rules and everything else like that to get vPenTest to work. You can add and subtract IP addresses or things that you don't want to have attacked, or machines that you just don't want touched. You can define very highly specific scenarios or parts of your network, or you can just kind of let it go to town. It's all really up to you. But as a full-blown SaaS platform, you plop a node on you plop a node on your network, and you get on our SaaS platform and you tell it, hey, this is what I want it to do, this is what I want you to scan, this is what I want you to pen test, and then from there you move on. Now, I do, again, really want to talk about the difference between what a vulnerability scan and a penetration test is. So, like I said, a vulnerability scan is only going to identify those system weaknesses. It is not going to exploit them. A pen test is going to prove the legitimacy of that vulnerability. It's going to actually exploit it. And we do all sorts of things like external penetration tests, internal penetration tests, you name it. And we are going to pull passwords, find credentials, and we're going to do this all in a very secure way. We are very big about data privacy. We are SOC 2 compliant as well. We are very serious about getting you a well-rounded, complete penetration test report in your hands at the end of the day, and what is essentially a very fast, quick, and efficient platform that is great for your business and your clients as well. So the results are going to show what happens if an attacker got on this section of your network or just in your network, and if they go to town, what's going to happen, and then of course how you can defend yourself and remediate the vulnerabilities that you find in your network. So this quote right here, this is one of my favorite quotes. If you don't know who Kevin Mitnick is, he is a world-renowned ethical hacker, and unfortunately, he died a few years back, just all of a sudden. But this guy did some crazy things. He hacked the NSA and all of these other exploits. And interestingly enough, he got out and founded the company KnowBe4, which you most likely know. But this quote right here, the reason I love it so much is because it embodies the fact that I've learned in really what is almost 14 years of hacking experience. I've learned that computers are just the dirtiest, most insecure devices that truly need as much help as you can give them to be secure. In today's day and age, hacking is not about, whether it's an if, it's more about a when. And you do have to know the insides and outs of a computer to be able to protect them. And that's where MSPs and MSSPs and all of you great people out there really do understand this. And you have to know that, this is the stack you need. It's not about cybersecurity anymore. It really is about cyber resiliency. So moving on from that, going back to VPen test, talking about cyber resiliency, you got to make sure that you're covering all angles, whether it comes down to legal or what have you, but that this is a fully compliant platform. I don't think we'd be in very good business if we were not a compliant penetration test at the end of the day. No. There's all sorts of things that you can do with VPen tests. You can run it multiple times a year. You don't have to restrict to just getting a pen test done once a year. That is actually a big no-no, in my opinion, as a security professional. You need to have eyes on your network at least quarterly, I would say, in this capacity. And VPen test is the opportunity for you to be able to do that. But it is required across a lot of industries that you get pen test done. Now, in my time at Vonahi, I actually spent, a year validating what was likely over 10, maybe 15,000 plus external penetration tests, mostly by myself. And I might be the only person who has ever seen something like this, but every industry, no matter who your clients are, what industry they're involved in, what they're about, every industry tends to have their own issues and they have trends in those issues. And I might be the only person who actually has seen this firsthand. But I've noticed in things like automobile, as you can tell here, there's tons of forgotten network access systems, VPN entry points, brute forceable SSH openings with that don't use keys, all sorts of really crazy technical details like portals that are horribly misconfigured or outdated or that just accrue vulnerabilities. Automobile, they like, to have fancy websites and stuff that accrue vulnerabilities. They have very disparate systems that are just sort of out there. Something like finance, when you're undergoing PCI DSS, it's very hard to upgrade those systems, just like medical is, right? And that accrues a bunch of vulnerabilities that you need to have your eyes on, as well as things like schools. And schools are unfortunately at a major disadvantage between costs and all of these other things. But, VPen test, it is a solution to be able to find those vulnerabilities and help, even the most simple school administrators be able to solve and fix and repair these vulnerabilities before a hacker gets to them. So the solution really to anything to do with your penetration test nowadays and the way the future is moving is VPen test is the product that's going to become a part of everybody's stack. Kind of like how a vulnerability scan is, kind of like how, all of these other tools are. You're going to see VPen test pop up in a lot of people's stuff, like a lot of people's stack. Like it's going to become a lot more commonly used. It's going to become a very important tool. But the cool thing about us is that you can get that continuous testing if that's something you want to do. You don't have to do it just once a year, which again, I say is dangerous. You can meet your compliance objectives. And you got to also understand that this is a very fast platform. And at the end of the day, once the report is done, people like me, certified professionals, as well as everyone else on our team, and we have a great team. I'm talking ex-Metasploit developers and everything else along those lines, like some crazy ethical hackers we got over here. They are going to sit down and they are going to validate these findings, these reports of yours before they submit them. So you know that at least one ethical hacker has looked it over and said, hey, this is what has happened. You're good to go from here. And then with us, of course, you get an increased scope because you can run it more often. You can detect things more often. And that way, no more risks will go undetected. But ultimately, our value to you And I mean, I can't really summarize a penetration test or even automated pen testing within a 10-minute, elevator speech here. But our value to you is to make penetration testing easy, efficient, and affordable. We absolutely love what we do over at Vonahi. We are very motivated, very passionate about what it is that we do. And we want to make sure that you get that compliance, that continuous security, and ultimately validate the effectiveness of all of those defenses you put in place. But if you would like to learn some more about this is a QR code for you to book a one-on-one meeting with a vPen test expert. I'm excited to talk to you all in the rooms after this. I love talking about network security and listening to what your all's problems are and seeing how a hacker would deal with it, or even more so how a hacker would exploit that. I think that's valuable knowledge for a lot of people to have that I am able to give. But thank you all so much again for having me on the show. I am super excited and I appreciate your time.
Awesome job, Luke. Thank you so much for that. And, one of the things that really jumped out at me was the continuous testing. And I think that's incredible. I mean, I look at it from a healthcare perspective. You could take your blood pressure today and it might be great, but give it a week and it might tank. And, if you're continuously testing, you have, your finger on the pulse, no pun intended, and you have a better insight and visibility to what's happening in that environment. So thank you for that. I greatly appreciate it. And so we're going to move on to the next spot here. A couple things. We had 3 great presentations. Hope you enjoyed each of them. We have more though, but wait, there's more. Had to throw that in there, right? So just want to first off give a quick reminder that we have $250 of cash that will be given away to one lucky MSP that stays to the end of today's presentation. Now, what we want to do next is we want to hear from you, and we are going to throw a poll up just asking who you would like to hear from. So go ahead and complete that poll, and we'll pass your information on to the vendors so that they can reach back out to you. And with that being said, I want to give a little bit of a breakdown of our next segment, which is our demo rooms. They're actually called breakout rooms in Zoom. At the bottom of your screen, when we open up our breakout rooms, you'll be able to click on the breakout room icon, and you'll be able to pick which of the 3 breakout rooms you want to go to. As I mentioned before, you could jump into one breakout room. Maybe you want to check out Josys and learn a little bit about there, and then jump over to Mail Protector or Vonahi. So you'll be able to jump into each of those breakout rooms. And so it's a great thing to do to be able to get additional questions answered. Maybe there's a little bit of hands-on that you want to see, whatever the case may be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open up our breakout rooms, and we'll go ahead and do that right now. For each of our presenters, you will automatically be rolled into those breakout rooms. For each of our participants, go ahead and pick which breakout room you want to jump into. If you do have a question about how to get into a breakout room, go ahead and throw a question into chat, and then we'll be able to help you out. And in about 15 to 20 minutes, we will pull everybody back into our main stage, give away that $250 cash. For everybody listening to us here on YouTube, this will be the end of the presentation for right now. All the more reason to join us live in our Zoom session so you can participate and join those breakout rooms. With that being said, I will talk to everybody in about 15 to 20 minutes.